Hello, you fucking weirdos. Today we're talking about another weird book, which is The Cuck. It has been a long, exhausting week, and I'm so tired. And I don't feel a certain type of way addressing you like that because if you follow me, you are weird. And I know that because I'm weird. And I don't even mean it as an insult. In fact, I want to reclaim the word weird. But you are a fucking weirdo, and we're going to talk about a fucking weird book. I've only read two books by Aron Beauregard, this one and The Slob. I didn't like The Slob very much, not because of the content, because I do read extreme horror. Just because I just didn't think it was that great. And unfortunately, this book for me is much of the same, but if I had to choose one I preferred, I guess it would be The Slob. Let me take you on a run through of what happens in this book, and then we can talk about my thoughts on the book. So the Cuck follows two men called Ben and Mickey. And I would like to point out here, this book is a picture book. Like, it has words, obviously, but it has pictures scattered throughout, which is kind of cool. I can't show you a few of them because they are not safe for work, but it's a cool little addition. But anyway, Ben and Mickey are in an oldie-timey Englishy pub back in 1997. The bartender, for some reason, is unreasonably angry about the fact that they're just like having a pint in his pub. You'd think he would want them to do that, but he's just like, get out me pub, lads, or I'm gonna smack you one. A brief aside, I don't know anything about Aron Beauregard other than I can name some of the books he's read or written, sorry. But he does write British people like he is in fact American, with the misguided confidence of an American who thinks he knows how British people sound because he has watched like Oliver Twist or maybe like a Jason Statham movie or something. Hello, mate. I'd like one room temperature pint, please. Anyway, they're kicked out the pub and they're very drunk and they play fight in the street and they find this pamphlet. It's like a little leaflet thing and it's like, hello, would you like to come and spice me? I am a larger lady, but if you'd like to come, I would like to be spiced. I am a larger lady, but if you'd like to come and spice me, I would like to be spiced by you. Call this number. And Ben is like, we should definitely do this. This sounds like a really great idea. And Mickey is like, maybe not. But Ben manages to convince him with the airtight logic of, well, don't you have that girl from the coffee shop that you have a crush on? Don't you need to go and spaff in some random woman to then act on that crush that you have with that girl? Do you follow the logic? You don't? Okay, well, neither did I. Don't worry about it. You just need them to get from point A to point B, I suppose. So they go to Bessie's house. That's the name of the lady. They've called her. She's like, yes, come on over. And they meet her husband. Her husband looks like this, apparently. And I guess the author's justification is, look, they're really, really spangled. So he's basically like, hello, lads. Thanks for coming to spaff in me wife. I'm an old man and I just like to watch. Can't slip one in me Bessie anymore. I'm too old and I just want me Bessie to have what she wants. But can I watch, please? And they go, I get you, fuck it. Yeah, you can watch actually. So he sits in the corner and does what you imagine he'd do during this time. So we get to the spice scene. Bessie is blindfolded and she's on the bed waiting. And I'll say straight away, there's no issues with non-con. She is completely con, which is great. She enjoys herself. What I do not enjoy is the way the author, in my opinion, writes a really mean-spirited, punching down kind of spice scene about this woman, and the only things we know about this woman is her physical appearance and the fact that she has an ad out. And she is described, and the spice acts are described really very disgustingly. They're meant to make you feel disgusted, but again, there's no reason for that other than she is a plus-size lady. She's also disabled and it appears that she's pretty much bedbound and it all just feels really fucking gross. There's no reason for the author to describe this woman in this way. You don't need to do that in order to have an effective, and if you're going for disgusting, you don't need to do that in order to have a disgusting book. Women don't need to be the punching bag or the punchline in these books, and it really does make me feel question yet again, do we have a misogyny problem in horror? Because sometimes I really feel that the answer is yes. At one point, Bessie's downstairs is described as being slimy. Again, she's not described as physically unattractive really in any way other than she is plus size. And I want to be very clear, being plus size does not make you physically unattractive. There are fucking so many beautiful, sexy, hot as fuck plus size women out there. But the book is kind of portraying it as like, well, she's plus size and gross. Who would want to have spice with a plus size lady? And the fact that she is disabled and bedbound and appears to be kind of doing this because she can't get what she needs in any other way adds another kind of insidious layer to this. But anyway, let's continue with what happens in the story. They they describe her quite disgustingly, in my opinion. Um, and then they go away. Mickey gets a call from this girl that he has this crush on, and she actually wants to come and spice him, and they go on a date. She comes back and they start doing the do, and then he sees the old man in the corner and he's like, what the hell? And he punches the wall and tells him to fuck off. And understandably, the girl is like, hey, I'm going to leave now. Thank you for having me over. And before you unalive me, I'm going to skedaddle. So she does, and he's really annoyed he's blown his chance. Ben then gets a call from Mickey, who's like, oh, every time I try and slob me knob, fucking the old man is there. He's telling me to do things. He's in me mind. I've hurt myself. And it's like, all right, I actually don't care about either of these characters. I actively hope they do unalive because they're not nice people. Um, but Ben kind of sows that seed, and Mickey's like, oh, it happened to me as well, but it's probably just one of those things. It was a weird night. More stuff happens. They eventually end up going back to Bessie's house and being like, all right, Bessie, what the fuck's going on then with your husband? And she's like, I don't have a husband. I am a disabled woman. I am bedbound. I can't get what I need from anyone else. And the reason I stay blindfolded is because I do worry that eventually someone is going to come in with nefarious intent and unalive me. And because I am plus size and disabled, clearly my life has no other value and I'm completely miserable. And if someone did come in and answer my advert and came in and unalive me, I would be okay with that. I just don't want to see it coming. But in fact, actually, it might be a relief. Again, did not like this portrayal. She appeared to just be cannon fodder and mean-spirited cannon fodder for this book, because guess what happens whilst they're there and they discover she doesn't have a husband? One of the people that answered her advertisement does come and does in fact unalive her. So she is there to just serve as a catalyst for events, to be disgusting for no other reason than just existing and looking a certain way, and then to be unalived so we get another kill. But then they unalive this dude who came in to unalive her for reasons we don't know anything about him, and we don't find it out. Ben unalives himself later. Apparently he finds the safety scissors and cuts off the tip of his male appendage. Mickey finds him and is like, oh no, me best mate. So he's very upset about that. But anyway, he leaves his body in the bathtub where he finds it and just runs away. He does try and, crank one out for Ben, but the old man does appear again and tries to make him use his safety scissors to cut off his nuts, but he manages to stop himself. And he basically manages to find out that this man is in fact like a parasitic demon who attaches himself to really depraved, spicy things, spicy acts. And so Ben resigns himself to living the life of a monk, joins a spice addiction group, and the book ends with the old man out and about trying to find a new person to attach himself to, since Bessie has now been unalived and he can't do it with her, or can't get victims from her anymore. So that was The Cuck. It was certainly a bizarre book. Unfortunately, I thought, well, I hoped it was going to be like a scare, not scary. I assumed there would be a lot of body horror. I assumed it would be kind of gross because the slob certainly is. But I thought it might be like it's a novella, a quick, like fun, nasty kind of little read. And it was a nasty read, but not in the like fun way I hoped. Honestly, if you've read any of like, the Playground, the Slob, stuff like that, if you've read any of Aron Beauregard's other books, you will probably be expecting more from this book than you got, like I did. It really wasn't that graphic or that brutal. There were some scenes that made me like cringe a little bit, but for the most part, it really was relatively tame. The book relied, like I said, on that spy scene with Bessie and depicting that whole thing as disgusting and revolting, to do heavy lifting there. And then there were a few scenes of like every time they try and spice with someone or themselves, the old man makes them do something, but it really was pretty tame. The story itself was just fine. I'm not super picky with that kind of thing. I'm okay to just say, for horror reasons this happens. It wasn't the most inspired story though, and I didn't always understand how they got from A to B. Like, hey Mickey, you need to go and spice this random lady that you don't really want to go and spice because you have a crush on another woman. I really didn't understand that logic. The pictures in the book were cool. They added a little bit, I guess. It was a cool addition, so I don't have any problems with that. The writing itself was not so great. The portrayal of the British language or the British way of speaking was very funny um, at points. Didn't come across as very natural to me, but you know, who am I? But a British person who was born and raised here and has never lived anywhere else. The writing itself was very, it didn't flow naturally. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but you know, when you're reading a book and it's really well written, you just get lost in it and you're just reading and it's just flying by. I was taken out of the book a lot because it felt like I was reading a book written by someone. I know this sounds really stupid, but you're reading it and you can tell you are reading a book because the sentences and the sentence structure is sometimes a bit clunky. It's not so smoothly written. It's not something where you can sit there and get so engrossed you're watching this movie in your mind and you almost forget you're reading a book. You could always tell you were reading a book because yeah, the sentence structure was a bit clunky and it just didn't flow naturally, in my opinion. The main issue I had with the book, like I said, because I would ultimately give this 2 out of 5. The main issue that I had with the book was just the portrayal of Bessie and how that character was used. I'm going to put my hand down now because my arm is hurting. I just thought that her whole portrayal was unpleasant and unnecessary and honestly like misogynistic a little bit. I don't understand why she needed to be depicted as so disgusting when her only sin was she was plus size and disabled. It felt exploitative and kind of uncomfortable, to be honest, that she was disabled. And I do fully, you know, I don't have a problem with a disabled woman, you know, wanting to have spice, you know, and getting strangers for that. I mean, she's entitled to do whatever she wants, but it was just the way that her character was portrayed and just that she was essentially there to be a very vulnerable woman who is taken advantage of by people who um, are actively unpleasant to her, even if it's just in their minds, actively look down upon her, and you are in their heads who actively kind of revile her and think she's disgusting, and then is ultimately unalived. And it's just like, well, you know, she was disabled, she was bedbound, she said she didn't have a very good life, and she said she kind of wouldn't mind being unalived. So, now she got what she wants. That's kind of how it felt. And that was my main issue with it. I just really didn't like that portrayal, and it felt very, very mean spirited. And again, I do think that horror has a misogyny problem. Um, not all books, to be very clear, but I often read horror written by men because I don't believe I've read a horror written by a female author that has like internalized misogyny in it. I read horror written by men, and it is not uncommon for me to find misogyny in that book. There are, to be clear, a lot of male horror authors doing good work who write excellent horror books that don't rely on punching down or being misogynistic to women. And it is pushing me more towards horror written by women because funnily enough, I don't enjoy misogynistic horror. So of course I will not stop reading horror written by men. And again, I will acknowledge there are many men that write great horrors and aren't don't have misogyny in their books. It's just a disappointing trend I've noticed, and not necessarily just in recent books, just in the books that I'm reading that have been published. You know, generally I read books published in the last like 20 years or something. There is a trend, unfortunately. But yeah, that was The Cook. Can I say that I recommend it? No, I cannot. Was I a bit disappointed with it? Yes, I was. But I mean, if you want to give it a go, then do it. It's very quick. It's like 67 pages, and like at least 7 of those pages are pictures. And subscribe for more videos. Next week, I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing, but it's going to be something, and you're going to enjoy it. Like the video, follow me, or subscribe, whatever. Do all the YouTubey things. Please and thank you. Trying to grow this channel. Would love if you gave me a follow. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in my next video.